All righty. So I've given a couple minutes to just make sure everybody gets comfortable, gets situated. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It's always a pleasure to host these webinars. My name is Nicole Cooper. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions here at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, representing the STARS College Network tonight. Excited to have you all here. We're going to get started to talk a little bit about the STARS College Network, a brief introduction of all of the different institutions that we have here, some really great resources that we have within the STARS College Network, and then we're really going to let the rural students, the highlight of the show tonight, take over. We have students from different institutions, so University of Southern California, we have Auburn, we have Washington University in St. Louis, and MIT. So these students are going to provide a lot of insight about applying to college as students from rural areas, navigating the application process, how they found the institutions that they applied to, and then a little bit about the transition and what they love about college and any other questions that you might have. We also have representatives from other institutions in the background who can answer lots of questions. So if you have any questions in general, put them in the Q&A. We'll get to them when we can. I also have some questions prepared for you in case you don't have any questions, which is totally fine. But we'll hopefully get a lot of questions for you answered tonight during this webinar. All right, so Small Town and Rural Students College Network, or STARS College Network, you're here because you must know a little bit about the Small Town and Rural Students College Network. So again, thank you so much for coming. So the STARS College Network is a consortium of institutions that really formed in 2023 to address the gaps that students from rural areas were experiencing and applying to college. So students from small town and rural areas tend to apply to college at a little bit lower rates than their urban or suburban counterparts. And so one of the things we noticed as an institutions at large across the country and just in research in general was essentially that students have a lot of barriers from rural areas due to the distance. Maybe they haven't visited rural or they haven't visited institutions, a lot of barriers with academics that they're experiencing, and also just less exposure, less conversations about what that looks like. And so this consortium first had 16 institutions and has grown to 32 because there's so many institutions across the country committed to making sure that students from rural areas have information to really help them make informative decisions when navigating the college search process, the application process, and then transitioning to college. This is a really great program. We provide a lot of different resources for you to help you during your time in high school and even help you once you attend or are at the institution of your choice. So here's all of the different institutions that are in the STARS College Network, a great list, a lot of diversity representation of geography, different type of institutions. We have public institutions, private institutions from just about all over the country. And we're really proud to all work together. Some of my colleagues here tonight, I work with so frequently. I see them throughout the years, and it's something that we are really committed to throughout our vision mission as a consortium and just within the institutions ourselves. Now, not all of the institutions are here tonight. But if you have any questions about any of them, you can always go to the STARS College Network website, and there's little blurbs and information about all of the institutions that you see on the screen that is on the STARS College Network. So you can Google it, you can go to starscollegeNetwork.org, and you can get a lot more information about all of these institutions there. We even have little videos with information of a lot of the institutions on the website and events that we host every month, virtual, and then sometimes is in person. So just make sure you check that out. There's so much more information there. I could talk about it all night because we have a lot of resources available to you in general. So this is the QR code that can get you to that website with all of the information. I guess I didn't update it. It is 32 member schools, not 16. And you can register for a lot of future programming. So as I said, we have the virtual programming that we have every month. It covers topics, everything from essay writing to rural student voices to faculty voices and everything in between to really help you during the college application process and to answer some of those questions that maybe your counselors are not able to answer for you because they have less exposure to the application process outside of maybe some of your local schools. And then we also have Khan Academy and Schoolhouse.world, which are two resources for those of you who maybe don't have access to calculus or physics or other advanced coursework. This is sort of a parallel play program where you can take classes through Khan Academy, kind of independent learn, and then you can take a test through Schoolhouse.world and get tutors. And that kind of helps you prepare for applying to college and making sure that you're preparing yourself for those rigorous courses. Another thing that's really important is to estimate your financial aid with My Intuition. This is something that we have on our website that a lot of students might know about or maybe have not perused, but it is really helpful information for you to really dive into to understand financial affordability and fit. And links to My Intuition are on the Stars College Network website as well. Okay, so now that I have done some talking, we're going to introduce the STARS ambassadors here tonight from their respective institutions. So I'm going to kick it off with Jalen at Auburn.
Hey y'all, I'm Jalen Walker. I'm a sophomore from Moody, Alabama, majoring in political science.
All right, Haley, take it away.
I was gonna say, I assume we're just going on the list. Hi, everybody. My name is Haley. I am a junior at MIT, and I'm studying environmental engineering.
Hey everyone, my name's Saul. I'm a junior at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm double majoring in philosophy and political science on the pre-law track.
Oh,
Hey.
sorry about that. Hi
Okay.
guys. Yeah, my name is KB Yellowhair. I'm originally from Arizona, and I'm a junior here at the University of Southern California, and I'm studying business.
Hey everyone, my name is Hannah E. Rose. I am a senior at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'm studying Earth, Atmosphere, and Planetary Science, but I'm a pre-law student and I'm originally from Coleman, Texas.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Vale. I go to WashU. I'm a sophomore. I'm double majoring in biology, neuroscience, and East Asian languages and cultures on the pre-dental track.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lorenzo Diaz, representing the 505, got from Gallup, New Mexico, and I'm a current sophomore at the University of Southern California studying mechanical engineering.
Awesome. Thank you all for those wonderful introductions. It's so fun to see students from all over. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the job. So the first question is just, I know it's kind of broad, but to kind of get off the start of this, what was your experience with the college search and application process, specifically coming from a rural and small town background?
Yeah, most definitely. So I think the application process was it was quite the toughie for me. I feel like I went to my counselors a couple times and nobody really knew like how to do it nor like lead me on the right track. And given like the area that I lived in, not a lot of people were going out of state, so it does kind of give you that little you're a little nervous to kind of step out of the box. But yeah, I guess towards that, I met an admissions counselor at USC. They came to my school, so and I got to connect with them on a very on a level to level basis, and it was really nice. And yeah, from there, they kind of guided me on how to apply and whatnot. So that was pretty awesome.
Awesome. I love that you were able to meet an admission officer from USC that kind of helped with that application process. It's always nice to talk to admission officers. Does anyone else have anything else to add about their application search process?
Yeah, I can go. So I will say most of the kids from my high school don't go to college. I think most of them either go to like a trade school or they go straight into business. And then we have a few that go into like the military, but I would say the minority go to college, and then most of them go to like local colleges. So kind of in the same boat of didn't really have anyone to like talk to who had been out of state before. MIT is in Massachusetts and I'm from Texas. So especially that far out of state, there was really no one to ask about the process. So it was a little difficult. I will say like my school, MIT, is very good about providing like resources and webinars and things like that, both for students from small towns through like stars and just in general. I felt like there were a lot of good resources that were out there. So that was really helpful and definitely something that I would recommend like looking for or taking advantage of with any schools that you're like looking at applying to soon.
I can add on to that just a little. I kind of had a similar experience in the sense of like the counselor at my school we just had one counselor for everyone, and that was for academics at the high school and like getting into college. And so the first time I went to her and I was like, I'm looking at Wash U. She was like, have you thought about the local Baptist college with 200 people at it instead? And I was like, I don't think that's for me. And that was the end of our interaction. So I was kind of on my own with most of it. So similarly to what KB was saying, like I emailed my AO, I got in contact with the admissions officer for my area from WashU pretty early, and that helped a lot and gave me a lot of peace of mind in the process, just knowing what I was doing and navigating it, and also just talking to like older friends I had who had already gone through the college application process helped a lot, but I was mostly self-taught through the internet.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, even though I'm from Moody, Alabama, I still go to Auburn University, which is in Alabama. But at the beginning of the process, I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I looked at a lot of different out of state schools, but most of like my counselors, they were like, we want you to go to like UAB or apply like UAB or Alabama or more local schools. But I wanted to just see like where I could get into and all the different places I could get into.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar experience. I think I'm a military child, so I only moved to Missouri about 3 years ago. So I had kind of grown up all around. So I definitely had a better access to like resources being like from a high school that was like very well funded by the military. However, still like a majority of my high school does just go to trade school the same way like Hannah just talked about with like trade school or like the military. But definitely, the admissions officer, the same one as Saul, he came to our high school all the time, and I got to like know him really well and just like keep like that email exchange. And then I think like slowly just building that connection made me like realize like there was someone there that could help me through the application process, even if like maybe like the direct resources at my high school couldn't.
This is a great question. This is a great answer that kind of segues into our next question. And you guys have all sort of been touching on a little bit, but did you face any challenges in applying to schools because of your location specifically?
I feel like I can go for that. Kind of echoing what I believe Hannah said. A lot of people from my town, when it comes to college, only apply to either state schools or they go to trade schools or straight to like the workforce of the military. So I felt like I was really alone in applying to these selective schools, and I didn't have anyone to like really help me with it, right? Um, so that's kind of was a really big challenge for me. But to get past that, I kind of had to do my own research a little bit, and I was able to talk to admissions officers from other schools, and I found some really great programs, specifically for current sophomores. So they'll take place in your junior year, in your rising senior year summer. Apologize. And I met students from small towns that were into applying to selective schools, and I gained that community, right? Would love to expand more about those programs, but one of them is called Emerging Rural Leaders 2 at the University of Chicago, and another one is specifically for Hispanic students, called the Youth Leadership Institute. Would love to chat more about those.
Yeah, I guess I would also kind of hop on that point and expand on that as well, which is that I also came from an area where people tended to funnel to like one or two schools, and one of them was a local community college, and the other one was just one of the big state schools. That everybody kind of either funneled that way or they went directly into the workforce, and so it was a little bit different when I told my counselor I was like I think I'm gonna apply to MIT, and she was like, okay, I have no idea what to do for you. And so it was a little bit of a rough process in adjusting and just trying to figure out what to make an application look like because it was so different than anyone around me was doing to apply to places that weren't in state. And especially navigating the financial situation with that as well. And because I guess tangentially related to location itself, I didn't have access to a lot of math competition. I didn't do science Olympiad and I didn't have like a project portfolio or anything like that. And these were all things that out of state universities were asking for or had an option for. And so it was really scary to me when I was looking at all these applications and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never done any of these things. I don't know how to fill this out. Um, but it was just a little bit of a learning curve in realizing that I had different things that could go on those applications and different angles of the way that I had spent my time. And it didn't necessarily mean that I wasn't going to be a good applicant just because I didn't have access to the same network of things that they were seeing from most of the students who were applying?
I think I can kind of jump off of that. I would definitely agree with like the application itself being kind of confusing, both like with individual schools and what those individual schools might want, but also kind of just like with the Common App in general, where they were saying, you know, have you taken AP classes? And I was like, oh, my school doesn't even have those, and I don't know how to tell them that information. Like I didn't not take them, not because I was like not interested in them or because I just didn't feel like taking them, but because they weren't really an option. So I think that that was a struggle for me, and like I just ended up highlighting that I'm from like a small town in my essays, and I talked about like my experience with that. Um, so I do think that that was helpful, but it was a little like daunting going through this, where I kind of realized that these things were so like, or at least felt at the time so important, that I just like didn't have any access to, kind of like what Haley was saying. So um yeah, I don't think that it was like a make or break by any means, but I do know like in the moment it felt a little like, oh man, was I like supposed to have been self-studying APs and I had no idea about that, which is definitely not the case. Like if you're in that spot and I just said that and it scared you, don't worry about it. Like you don't have to like self-study APs. I did not self-study any APs, but I do know that was like a thought going through my head as I was working on applications, was like, man, should I have been doing something differently? Even though that's not necessarily true.
Anything else to add? Just checking around. Okay, so our next question is if you all could let us know, how was higher education viewed in your community growing up specifically?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. It's a little noisy right now. This is Los Angeles for you, but yeah. So I guess it was kind of viewed as I guess the successful standard, if I were to put it. I guess everyone's always encouraging their kid to go to college, but I mean, it makes no sense because there's not a lot of resources in our rural area. So yeah, I guess it was just a sign of success. If you go to college, I think everyone's like already viewing it as like, you know what, you're getting ahead in life. Because just like most people, in rural areas, I guess it's more of a blue collar town rather than higher education.
Yeah, I can like also kind of jump on that. Like, I think, of course, like what KB said with like it's like the success story, but also I think it depended what school you went to from my area. Like we have one high school, but so like I'm from Missouri, so like Mizzou is like the state school that everyone goes to if they do go to college. And I think like a lot of other schools like WashU, or like I have some other friends who went to like different schools around, it maybe like felt more like elitist, like people kind of like looked at you differently if you decided to go to those schools instead of going to your state school. They kind of like looked at you differently and kind of thought differently about maybe your background or like who you are as a person. So I definitely think it could be kind of intimidating. I remember people kind of asked me like, why would you choose WashU if like with your grades you can go to like your state school for free, or like why would you choose a different school in that sense? And I think that was a really big point during high school and made me kind of realize like what should I do? But I think at the end of the day, like just talking to admissions officers, and that's just made me kind of realize like what path I really wanted to take.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, my parents were always like, "You're gonna go to college." I was like, "Okay, I know I'm gonna go to college or whatever." But for me, thinking like in Alabama, like our biggest state school is where I am at Auburn. So like a lot of people, when I go home and I say, "Oh, I'm at Auburn," "Ooh, you're at Auburn," I'm like, "Yeah," but during the application process, just going through like the different schools that I wanted to apply to, I was just thinking like, can I like get into these schools? Like, am I good enough to get into these schools? And what I tell y'all is like, yes, you are. If you can work and you have the determination, stuff like that, you can do whatever you want to do. So back in Moody, like Auburn and like Alabama were like the best schools you could get into or whatever. But I just wanted to see like where I could get into like the different opportunities that other schools have.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Just to build off it a little, like from my hometown, that's a very like agricultural based community. So, my graduating class started about 200 people, about 160 of those made it to the finish line, and only about half of those people went to college in any capacity. And for most people, it was either community college or state school. And there's certainly nothing wrong with any of those options. Like they're all doing very well. But for me, looking at like WashU and WashU type schools, it felt kind of isolating during the process just because nobody else really had the same goals or the same intentions or the same plans as me. So it just like I felt like I was on a different track from a lot of my peers for a while. And like I said, it felt a little isolating, but it's refreshing to like be in environments like this and hear that like, no, you're not alone in that process at all. Like there are a lot of people out there going through the same experiences. And also there are a lot of resources if you go looking for them that are specifically for helping you with that experience.
Yeah, I would give a really enthusiastic like second to that, especially because I think oftentimes, or at least it was the case in my hometown because it was also like it's pretty rural. I mean, it's rural Appalachia. When I told people, oh, I'm considering going to college in Boston, the first response was always, "Why would you do that? That's so far away." And it's hard to explain to people sometimes when everyone is really used to the way that things are, that sometimes you do want to take opportunities in other places, regardless of whether that's one state over or five states over. And so it can be a little frustrating sometimes to try to navigate, what do you want to do, especially if it's different from what everyone else is doing, and what is the best opportunity for you to take in balancing like the resources of in-state versus out of state. And that's something that you have to decide for yourself and can be really hard to do when all of the external voices are pushing you one way or the other.
These are all such like important information to be taking in. I think that even just like the process can be, where to look. There's so many different options and making sure you're making the best choice for yourself, whether that is, in state or looking out of state. But what they're all really pointing to is that it was, a choice that they had to make for themselves and information that they had to seek out. And I think that that is really important to kind of focus on and understand. So we're kind of talking about a lot of the barriers a little bit, getting into, how the community felt. So I do have another question. How did your family, your school, and your community view the application process? Were there any like stressors? Did they know a lot about the process? Did they didn't? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but if you all could add any other piece of advice you have from what your community and how they viewed the application process.
I guess I'll go again. So my family, none of my family went to college, and a lot of people were blue collar workers, and I live with my grandparents especially. So now the Common App, they had no idea it was even worth asking them. But no, I think nobody really had an idea of what to do, so that really like made me do my own research. One thing I do remember before deciding to come to USC was looking online, and the first thing you see on the Google like web page is like how much it costs, right? And automatically that kind of scared me off a little bit, and I bet you scared off a lot of other people. But then doing like a deeper dive into it, you find out that that's actually it doesn't cost that much. So just doing a deeper dive is what really like initiated like my family not being able to like help me, nor any of my school counselors. So I would have to say that.
Yeah, I have like similar experiences as KB. Like I also, my dad was just joined the military at 17 years old, and then my mom's Korean, so the college system in Korea is very different. She didn't even go to college there. So I think like when I was talking about applying, it was very much like, oh, like why is it taking so long? Why is it costing so much money to apply to schools? Like like why are you like always spending time like writing things? They didn't understand like what went into the college application process. So I think it was really hard, and I'm the only child, so there was no one to be like, to like ask for help or like all that stuff. So I think it was very like overwhelming for my parents to see me go through that alone. And I think like they wanted to really help me, but they just like couldn't. There was no option for them to help me. So then I think I really just relied on like my friends who were going through the same like situation of like we're all first gen and we all don't know what we're doing right now. We'll just kind of like put our brains together and try to figure out something, either like working together. And just I think that was the way I ended up getting through the application process, was just like looking through, like I had maybe like three friends in my graduating class that were also applying to like like the top 20s and such. And I think just going to those people and like working together and sitting in like Starbucks and just like working on our application for like hours on end was the only thing that really got me through it, because I don't think anyone else really in my community really understood that.
I can talk a little bit too. So, I was fortunate enough to have parents that did go to college. My mom went to a like smaller religious college near where she grew up and near where I grew up. So it was very different than applying to like MIT. And then my dad went to also like a state school in Texas. So I think like a lot of the schools that I was looking at were out of state, and it was really, really nice. And like I was very fortunate to have their help through the application process and to have them at least like somewhat familiar with it. But like I know I was talking to my mom and she was like, this is so different than whenever I applied to college. Like the portal is different and the aid is different and everything is different. The SAT is scored differently. So even having that experience, it was still like kind of a new field. But I don't know, I think it was just kind of like everyone else has said, like something that I slowly learned how to like navigate on my own. I did like ask teachers too, but even they hadn't had many students who had like applied, especially out of state, just because that is pretty unusual for the high school that I went to. So I don't know, I think it was a unique experience, but one piece of advice that, like, my mom gave me while I was applying, and it's something that I'm really glad she did, and, like, I'm applying to law schools right now, and I'm still, like, taking this into account is, I know we were mentioning, like, looking at colleges and seeing how much they cost and, like, how far away they are, and, I was looking at how cold is Massachusetts, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cold." But my mom was like, "It doesn't hurt to send in an application." Obviously there is like an application fee and you do have to write the essays and things like that, but like I applied to a lot of schools and got into some schools that I didn't end up going to, and I don't think that it was like a waste of time and I don't think that it was a bad idea to do that. I think if you're yes, fee waivers, amazing. Apply for any fee waivers that you can. A lot of schools will offer them and a lot of schools are a lot more generous than you would think with them. Um, Again, like, I'm applying to, like, law schools right now, so this is a little bit filtered through that, but there are a couple of, like, law school fee waivers that I've applied for that it just says, "Do you need a fee waiver?" And you say, "Yes," and then they give you one. So, like, apply for any fee waiver that you can. Even if they say no, you're in the exact same spot that you were beforehand. Apply to the schools. If they deny you, you're in the exact same spot that you were in beforehand. If they accept you, then you have another option to consider. So, like I do, that was just something that my mom said that I really, really appreciated. Because I was trying to like preliminarily narrow myself into only applying to a few schools or only applying to like my top choices and then some safeties. And she was like, just apply, just see what it is. This is a really unique time of your life and this is something that not a lot of people from here have done, so take advantage of what you can do and what's available. And that's definitely advice that I would give. Obviously don't like overwhelm yourself with 500,000 essays or anything, but like if you have the opportunity, especially with things like fee waivers, I would definitely say to take it.
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Do you want to go, Haley? Okay, cool. Yeah, kind of a big thing about fee waivers, which was nice for me. So, back home, so when I was applying, if yours, so I came from a public school. If you had free and reduced price lunch, you're automatically given a fee waiver on the Common App. So I didn't have to pay for any school's application fee, which was really nice. And then I guess I kind of wanted to touch on the community question a little bit. Um, for a little bit of context, I played basketball in high school, and my coach knew I was working really hard on applying to schools, and I would give him updates on what I got into, what I didn't. And once I finally made a decision, he announced it right before my game when like during the starting intros, and he told everyone in the gym, "Yeah, this is Lorenzo. He's going to USC." And I just got a huge round of applause from my community, and it really uplifted me. Um, and I really thank my community, and I really think without where I came from, without the small town that I grew up in, I wouldn't be here. So I think just my point I'm trying to make is stay true to your community for sure, and I think everyone here can would be able to agree with that.
I think that's a great point from Lorenzo. And so this goes a little bit to this question and the last one about the application more generally. But I think like rurality, being from a rural community or a small town, like at first was something that I kind of wanted to like sweep under the rug in my application and like basically try to pull it over the admissions officer's eyes that I was from a small town. And I realized that was silly. And like, I needed to do things like explain why I hadn't taken any AP classes and things like that. And the more I got into this process of like writing my essays and looking at my transcript and trying to contextualize it, the more I realized that, yeah, like the community I came from is actually a strength that can be highlighted if I frame it in the right way and I put the right aspects of this community community and of my background forward, because there are a lot of really unique benefits to living in and growing up in a rural community or a small town. And like I was able to talk about that. And like in my personal statement, it was really all about how my community had formed me. So I really just leaned into that aspect of my identity, and I think it made my application stronger as a result.
Okay, I'm just making sure no one else wants to pop in. All right. So we're kind of talking about applying, kind of like, taking the leap, being unsure. So one question that we have in a chat that I feel like is a good question is, did you know your major when you were applying? And if you did think you knew your major, another question is, did that stay your major?
I can say, for me, I applied to like different schools with like just different majors. I kind of like did whatever I was feeling at that point. Like, I don't know. I think like at WashU, there's so many like little niche, like constant, like every major has its like own concentration, and then it's like own like subsection of a concentration. Like there's a million different things. Like, so obviously I didn't know like to that extent. I think I applied to WashU under this PNP major, which is the philosophy, neuroscience, psychology major, and I am not that anymore. Because I didn't realize I did not like philosophy, but sorry, Saul. But I think like kind of just taking into consideration what you want to do and just kind of like talking about that, and then maybe like connecting that to why your major is why you're doing it. But also you don't have to like go into it. I don't think maybe like I don't know if any of the schools on the webinar now, I don't think any of them like make you really like decide it as soon as you come in and like stick to that. Like I think every like WashU you declare it like the spring of your sophomore year. I think like most schools have kind of like transitioned into that, and you're allowed to take like whatever kind of classes you want that like the school has to offer. So I think like not stressing about that is like really good. At the end of the day, like you're gonna be like what 17, 18 years old when you apply to college. Like you don't really know what you're gonna major in. At the end of the day, like usually it doesn't really matter as long as you know what type of path you're going on to. So I don't think that you really need to set in stone what you want to do.
Yeah, to piggyback on what you said, Rebecca. So I'm a poli sci major, and I've wanted to be a poli sci major since I was 10 years old. So I kind of can't really help out on the change in majors part. But especially like here at Auburn, like you can change your major easily. I know some of my friends like 2 weeks ago, they were Becky majors, and then they decided to change over, and one's doing finance and one's doing architecture, and they're going to graduate in like 4 years. So it's really easy. So you don't really have to know exactly what you want to do. When I applied, I mean, poli sci is really versatile. So most of the universities that I applied to had poli sci, but like, no offense to MIT, I don't think I'd fit in as a poli sci major at MIT. No offense, of course, but but especially like you don't really need to know. You don't need to know what you want to do like right off the bat. Even though I've kind of been like a poli sci geek for 10 years. I've been a poli sci geek for like 10 years. You don't need to know exactly what you want to do. You're going to probably change your major, change like your life story or like what you want to do when you graduate college. So there are a lot of different majors out there. So you just have to find one that you like really love and that you think you can grow with.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that. I mean, throughout high school, I worked a lot with a lot of the business clubs. So coming into USC, I knew I wanted to do something related to business. But my first choice was actually international relations, and I didn't get in for that. But I got into my second option, which is business administration, which was a blessing in disguise because it's the major I love. But with that, I was trying to be really strategic with it because I've heard a lot of horror stories of people not liking their major, and it's a hard time for them to switch. So I prioritized a lot of my general education classes first before I started getting my hands dirty in like the required courses for my business administration degree. So which turned out perfectly because I realized that business is my passion. That's what I want to do, and I think it also helps a lot because with your major, well, at least here at USC, you really do find a community. And my school is called Marshall, so there's a lot of people in the Marshall community that you really bond with, and these are people that you take classes with for like the 4 years of college. So I've met a lot of people and fostered a lot of good connections with it.
I can talk a little bit on this too. I fear I'm kind of known within. I'm also like an orientation leader, and this is like the question that they always ask to me because I have changed my major like an absurd amount of times. I came to MIT wanting to major in like aerospace engineering because I had done rocketry in high school and it was kind of the only academic type thing that I had done. And I said, you know what? I like that. I want to be an aerospace engineer. And then I got up here and I said, wow, that looks really difficult. Maybe I'll be a mechanical engineer. So then I changed to mechanical engineering. Then I took our intro to mechanical engineering class and said, oh, I kind of hate engineering. And then I was very confused and didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I thought maybe I want to be a storm chaser. So then I went to go do Earth, atmosphere, and planetary science. And now I want to go to law school. So I do think that part of that is very natural. Like a lot of my friends have changed their majors, both from like big schools and small schools. So like you're not alone if you don't know what you want to do. That's not even like just a rural thing. It's so many people go to college and have absolutely no idea what they want to do, or they think they know what they want to do and they don't actually want to do that, or they think they know what they want to do and they absolutely do want to do that. And like I think that any of those paths is very natural and you are not at all alone in any of them. You could, be like someone who picked their major at 5 years old and wants to do that and is super successful at that and loves it, or you could be like me and still not be 100% sure what exactly you're going to do. Hopefully I'm going to go to law school next year. I don't know what kind of law exactly I want to study, but that's okay. Like I'll figure it out. And I think that that's part of what college is for, is exploring that part of yourself and exploring what you like doing. So there's no pressure, whether you're from a small town or from a big school or from like a city, to know what you want to do right now. I think like very few people do. And even if you do, you probably don't know the details yet and you don't know, exactly what career you'll go down. So yeah, all of that to say like you're definitely not alone. I feel like it's way more common than you would think. So
I
I'm
will
gonna
say, oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Uh, to that, like everything everyone said about flexibility is absolutely true, and it's really nice to have as a resource. For me personally, I've known I wanted to geek out on philosophy and then go to law school since I was 15, and I'm geeking out on philosophy right now and getting ready to go to law school. So, like, to some degree, like you can have like stability and stay on the same study path. And also for me personally, like when I was doing the whole figuring out where I wanted to go process, like my family didn't really have the financial means for me to tour a bunch of schools or travel all over the country and see all the schools I wanted to apply to. So looking at like the academics that schools had to offer was one of the main ways I got a feel for the different schools I was potentially interested in. And so like WashU specifically, the draw for me was within the broader philosophy major. They have like a law and policy sub major, I guess, or subcategory within the major. It's like super niche, super specific. And it's something I really love and was one of the main draws for me.
Yeah, I was gonna hop on and say I think a large part of it was that whenever I came into the college application process, I didn't actually know what I wanted to major in. I just knew what I was interested in. And this was a little frustrating for me because at the time, all I knew I was interested in being outdoors. I really liked farming. I loved agriculture and I liked building things with my hands. And so naturally my go-to for this was, okay, I'm gonna be an engineer. But I wasn't entirely sure how to make that apply to the other things I was interested in. And so when I was looking and going through the college application process, I was actually looking for universities that had programs in something that would maybe allow me to relate like an engineering degree or, something that I could do or major into the things that I was interested in. So looking for ways that I could look into agriculture or food science and apply that with my major. And then I got to MIT and now I do corn research, which was not at all what I expected to do with my life. But it's a really good avenue. But I will say that you don't necessarily end up pigeonholed in any way at a lot of universities. Kind of as everyone else is saying here, there is a lot of flexibility, but also you can come to a place expecting to do one thing and do an entirely different thing. And the reason I say this is because of the joke that was made earlier. One of my roommates is a political science major at MIT, and really really enjoys it and loves the political science department here. So you can often be very pleasantly surprised, despite like what you plan to do going into college, what you may end up actually doing. And so I wouldn't worry too much about knowing exactly what you want to do right now.
Okay, so this kind of leads us into another really great question in the Q&A is if you could redo the application process, what would you do differently? Were there things that were more important then that you than what you expected in the process. So basically, what would you do differently?
Um, I think I low-key, like, wouldn't do anything different. Like, I don't know, maybe, like, to save on the money, 'cause I didn't, like, have access to as many fee waivers, I would tell myself to, like, not apply to as many schools I did. But also, like, I think, like, I learned so much about myself through the college applications. Like, I didn't really take that many writing classes in college in high school, so, like, doing the college application, like, I learned about, like, just how to write. Like, I learned how to write, I learned how to research, I learned how to talk to people, like, I learned so much just from, like, trying to apply to college that I, like, use those skills in college, like, now, that, like, I really don't think I would change anything. I think I learned so much about myself. I learned what schools I wanted to, like, and after I, like, saw what schools I got into, I got to really, like, decide, like, what do I wanna do for myself? Like, what do I wanna be? Like, I really, like, dig deep, and I think, like, just, like, the what I did through those whatever, like, those 5 months leading up to, like, applying really helped me, like, decide all those things.
Yeah, so I think if I were to do something differently when it comes to the college application, I mean, it's quite simple. I would apply more. I felt very like I wasn't motivated to apply to a lot of colleges just because of my area. Not a lot of people were doing it, and I felt like an outcast. I applied to maybe like I don't know how many colleges, but I could count them on my hands. So yeah, I mean, it'll even to this day, it still kind of lingers in my head, wondering like, what like where would I be at right now if I actually, took the time and effort to apply to a lot more colleges? Because the worst thing they could say is no. So
I also don't think I would do any, like, actions differently. I guess I just wish I had more insight into, like, how cool it is to be from a small town. I think, like, when I was growing up, it kind of just is like, "Oh, you're from a small town." Like, I thought the pizza getting delivered was just the thing that happened in the movies. I thought, like, multi-level schools were just in the movies. I didn't realize that, like, these were also, like, people that were applying to colleges and people that I would meet in colleges, and, like, I wish that I understood as a high schooler, like, how cool it is to be in this spot that, like, we're saying so few people go to these colleges coming from a small town, and that's, like, really awesome, and it's a really cool I keep saying cool, but, like, it's a really great thing to highlight in your applications and to say, like, I am unique. I have a unique perspective on the world. I have unique experiences. I have, like, a cool background being from a farm or being from a ranch or being from, somewhere where I can walk to school every morning or I don't know, like, I think that these things are very unique, and it is, like, I don't know, just I think I wish that I had known almost to, like, highlight it even more whenever I was applying. I think I did, and I talked about, like, staying at my grandparents' house after school because it was right down the street from the school and hearing about their childhoods and, like, growing up in rural Texas, and I do think that that was important, but I wish that I had had that insight of, like, "Oh, this is a very unique thing," and I don't know, I think that it's a really great opportunity to be able to apply to these places. I know I talked to, someone who is, like, restoring this courthouse that I, like, interned with. It's a whole thing, but he was talking to me and he said so few people will take advantage of these opportunities, and it's really special that, like, you want to try something new, if that makes sense, and I think that, it's great to go down any path that you wanna go down. I'm not saying that, applying to a bunch of colleges is necessarily right for everyone, but if that is something that you wanna do, it's a very unique path, and it's something that you, I think, can, like, embrace and be very excited about, and it's something that I wish I was, like, more excited about and, like, realized how special that was while I was doing it. So I feel like I rambled a little bit there, but I think the message hopefully got across.
Yeah, I think
I think
that's oh, go
keep
ahead.
interrupting. I think the biggest thing that I would, if I could go back, might just be to tell myself to calm down a little bit. And this is okay, this is gonna sound a little bit hypocritical, but I think all of us have this perspective of, oh, I wish I had done maybe this slightly differently in my applications, or I wish I had applied to more schools, or I probably shouldn't have applied to so many schools. But I think none of us would really look back and say, oh, I wish I'd stressed more about it. The college application process was really stressful in general, and I'm sure some of you are starting that now and know that. But at the end of the day, I wish that what I'd realized when I was still in high school and really afraid of, oh, well, like my application is this, my application is that compared to other people's, that at the end of the day, it's not worth spending an inordinate amount of time putting more and more pressure on yourself, especially when you come from an area where it is really important and everyone around you is saying, oh, you need to go to a good college, you need to do XYZ. At the end of the day, regardless of how exactly it ends up, the likelihood is that you will go to college and you will do very well. Because it matters in the same sense that all of us are from small towns. It matters less about the exact types of opportunities you have and more how you use them. And so I wish going back that I could tell myself that in the end, regardless of the way that I stressed about it, it would all end up perfectly fine. And that I had just been a little easier on myself senior year of high school, because I think a lot of us can probably relate to the fact that it was a very stressful process. And sometimes you do just need to take a step back and take a deep breath and take a break.
Yeah, I had three things I was gonna say, and Hannah and Haley took the last two, like lean into rurality and just breathe, like absolutely. The other big one for me that like story of my life, but I wish I'd gotten started sooner on it and not procrastinated as much. Because I think like a lot of what we've been converging on with what we're saying is like as a rural applicant, the resources you need are out there somewhere, but it might take longer to find them or be harder to access them. And so all of that just gets easier with time. Like I was saying, like I completely overhauled my application in like October because I realized I wanted to reframe who I was as an applicant. And like I realized I figured out what early decision was about 3 days before the early decision deadline was. And then I just threw together that and got my WashU ED application in. It worked out, of course. I did have an undue amount of stress over it. But if I'd started sooner, if I'd started just researching, figuring out all the like resources that were out there, all the opportunities that were available, I think it would have just made the whole process a lot smoother and a lot less stressful.
Okay, so much great insight. I'm loving this. A question just about the social aspect. How did you make friends on campus? We talked about how it's rare for students to come from rural backgrounds. So did you feel welcomed? How was making friends on campus from a small town background?
Yeah, I go. So basically, I mean, coming in freshman year, I had no idea like where I wanted to be, like what friend group I wanted to be in. So it was a little tough for me, because I feel like not a lot of people shared like the same experiences as me. So it was kind of hard. But I think ultimately, a lot of clubs that you're interested in, not just because somebody told you to join, but like clubs that I was interested in, because you find the same people that have I guess, right, the same interests. So a lot of clubs, and I'm also in a fraternity too, so that really helps.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really lean into my rule side as much when it came to finding friend groups. I think I rushed a like professional fraternity on campus here that's for like pre-health students. So I got into that and I kind of made a very like diverse group of like friends just through that. And I got to learn a lot about like just everything. Like I think like those people just like coming from different backgrounds and hearing the things that they went through from like different cities and even different countries just like really like made me understand like wow, like this is what I can gain from coming to a school like WashU, where like I get to meet people from like all different types of like places and like upbringings. And it was so cool to see some like people who were like just different from me, like not from just Waynesville, Missouri, or not just military. So I think just whatever, what KB said, like just join clubs that you think are going to be interesting. Like you don't have to just do like major related things or things that you're going to put on the resume. You can do whatever you want, like I'm involved in things that mean like actually like nothing and that I will never probably put on a resume, but like I do it because it's fun and it's interesting. So I really recommend, like even in high school, I always tell everyone this, and like don't just do like clubs in high school just because you're going to put on the application and it makes some story. Like I'm pre dental and I'm pre health. I didn't do a single like STEM club in high school. I did debate, I did like student government. I only did things like that because those were interesting to me during that time. Don't just like do clubs just for the resume.
I can kind of join off of that too. Kind of two things again with the like everyone is going to be in the same spot. Like some people will go to a college with like a group of high school friends, but for the most part, whether they're from a big school or a small school, a lot of people are going to be like going to somewhere with all new people. And I think that that's a very common situation, and like definitely don't feel alone in that. And also I did want to say too, like there's no pressure to make your absolute best friends your like first week of your freshman year. I know a lot of schools have like orientation programs. I'm an orientation leader at MIT, and it's like one of my favorite things that I do. I love it so much, and our goal is to like help the freshmen meet new people and to like make friends. But I will say most of my like closest friends now I met within the past like 2 years, and I'm still friends with the friends from freshman year, but there is like don't let yourself feel pressured to like find your best friend or find your forever roommate or find like the person that you're going to like live across the street from, and you'll grow up together and have like jobs together. Like it doesn't have to be that in your first week of your first year at a brand new place. So I don't know, I guess just that, like, if that helps, like, take some of the pressure off. I know that was stressful for me, was I felt like I was very alone, moving across the country from my family. I tried really, really hard to meet people online before I got here because I knew that it would make me feel more comfortable to, like, have some familiar faces, have people that I can grab lunch with. And I am still, like, good friends with some of those people, but my closest friends I met later through like, I walked onto our heavyweight men's rowing team as a coxswain. That wasn't something I was planning on doing when going to college. It was someone who I randomly met at orientation that said, "Wow, you seem small and loud. You should try out this sport." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds fun." And, I met some seniors on the team who were like my best friends my freshman year. And then I joined the mock trial team, and our like e-board members are now some of my best friends. And, I think that those things they can come later, and just like don't feel pressured to have like the picture perfect movie college experience from the first week of your freshman year. I think that it's perfectly okay to spend time and to figure out which clubs you want to join and to figure out who you are and to figure out what you value in friendships, and then to like grow and to meet new people. And some of my close friends are freshmen that came in while I was a sophomore, and I didn't meet them until I was already in college for a year. So I don't know, I like, just if that helps take some of the pressure off. I know that it is pretty daunting, especially coming from a town where you've probably known everyone in your grade from 3 years old. You went to pre-K together. They're, your mom's friend's cousin from church's daughter is your, like, best friend growing up, and it is daunting to go to college after, like, growing up in a place like that, and it was scary for me, but, I do think, like, it has a way of working out, especially if you focus on, like, what you're interested in and what you want to do. You'll meet people who are interested in the same things and care about the same things that you do.
Yeah, for me, coming from, like I say, Moody, Alabama, my graduating class was 130 kids, and I came to Auburn, which is 33,000 students. So, like, when I walked here, I was like, what in the world? There's so many kids here. There's so many different things you can do. And at first, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was scared about making friends, but I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I got to move in early and I got to participate because I'm in the honors college. We have this program called the Week of Service. So it's like a week where we go and help serve people in the Auburn community. And I made some of my closest friends through that. And also, Auburn has a really cool thing. It's called the First 56. So for the first 56 days, there are a lot of different events for all students on campus, but especially geared towards freshmen so that you can build a community and make friends and really get involved on campus. That's another way that I made a lot of my friends is just getting involved. Like one thing is, like I said, I'm a poli sci major. I'm on Eagle Eye TV, which is our TV network station. I'm a poli sci major. I don't want to do anything with journalism or anything like that, but just building those different relationships and being able to like step out of my comfort zone. I've been able to make some of my closest friends just stepping out of my comfort zone and being able to like do different things.
I
Are
love
you
that.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go for it.
I just really quick because I don't want to take too much time. I just want to talk about I kind of had so much different friend groups, and for me, my favorite one, I got more involved in my culture as a Latino. Um, and I think that was really important for me, and I felt really at home with them. So yeah, just wanted to give that point. A lot of cultural. I'm in the Society of Hispanic and Professional Engineers. Um, I'm in a Latino fraternity. It's been great. So I feel like leaning into your culture too is a very great option.
Anything else anybody wants to add? I know we're getting close to the end. Um, so I just to really quickly summarize a lot of this information, if you all could pick each student pick one word that described the way you felt about the application process and one word that you feel about your college experience and campus community. One or two, stay within the range, no senses. But yeah, one word about how you felt about the college application process and one word about how you feel about your college experience.
For my college application, I would say life changing. I mean, I never thought I'd be here ever. In my college experience, one word, man, there's so much words. But if I had to pick one, it's amazing. I feel like this was the best choice I've ever made in my entire life.
I guess I can go. For the college application process, I guess while I was in it, um, this is too, but like daunting but exciting. And then I think for my college experience, I would say unexpected, but good.
For me, like when I look back on the application process, I'm not nostalgic for it at all. So like the word for that time is probably just like anxiety, because that's what it was for 2 months straight. But I got to the other side of it, and my word now is for sure just like gratefulness. Like I walk around on campus and I'm just so happy to be here.
Yeah, for me, for my college application process, I don't know. I'll probably say fulfilling, especially because like when I got my application results and all that, I was like, I was able to do this, and I could say I got into XYZ, I got into Auburn, I got into all these other schools, and my college experience probably worthwhile. I'm gonna steal what Saul said. Like I walk on campus every day, and I just think I'm just thankful that I'm just thankful that I was able to go to Auburn and just experience all the different things that I've been able to do as a sophomore.
Yeah, I'd say for like the application process, definitely for like the end, I'd say I'm grateful. Not just getting into schools, but also just like being able to like afford them, being able to like have the support from my family to be like go and do whatever you want, and just like knowing that like they always have my back no matter like what path or like what school I was gonna choose. And then my college experience, I definitely say like very surprising. I was very like quiet in high school, so coming to college and like making all these different friends made me like really like get out of my shell, and I think like I became like a whole new person, which was really exciting.
Yeah, I think for my college application process, I think the word I would use is apprehensive because I had no idea what was going to happen and I was very scared of what would happen. But I think now the word I would use to describe my college experience is just home. I really love this place and it's been amazing for me, and the people I've met here are just some of the most incredible people that I've ever been fortunate to meet. So
I'm gonna keep it short. For me, college application process, worth it, so worth it, worth all the grinding that I put into it. And then college as of now, unforgettable. I've had the best time ever. I'm really so excited for all of you guys.
I think that was everybody. I don't think I'm missing one. The reason why I wanted to do that, I know we were a little bit over time. I think it's so great to hear from so many students who come from different but similar backgrounds in some ways. Who, yeah, the application process might be, very worthwhile, might be anxiety inducing, might make you feel a little apprehensive. But then to hear them, they're all in wonderful places doing wonderful things. I can just see all of their faces lighting up, talking about their culture and their communities. And sharing the words of the, like, even though that process is a lot, they're all just happy, excited, grateful. And I think that that's really important to focus on what the end word will be for all of you that are here today. So thank you, students across the country, for joining us tonight and being here. I know you all are very busy, and everyone who joined us from so many different places. It was great to have you all. I wish we could continue talking about this, but the recording will be on the website if you need to rewatch it. So thank you all and have a good night.